So this past summer, the reason that I'm standing before you right now, I was asked to create a vision at a program called Leadership. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it, but it's a great program, and if you can get involved, you should. And it's a leadership development program where I was supposed to write a vision. So first of all, figure out what it is I care about, which was hard enough. And then from that, they asked us to write a newspaper headline for what would be the headline the day after your vision is realized, which is a really powerful exercise. But so the headline, it's from Mars's premier publication. Not sure if you're counterculture enough to read it, but called The Light Yearly. And the title is Earthlings Unite. So my vision was for humans, all of us, to see each other, regardless of our other citizenships or memberships, whatever it is, as fellow humans and nothing else, and to get rid of the lines that run between us, and that we would use that identity in order to get rid of, to fight back against global problems that really don't know the boundaries that we put before ourselves. Epidemics don't stop at borders. So, I mean, we're faced like never before with problems that affect us all equally. Like global weirding, epidemics, terrorism, nuclear proliferation, Michelle Bachmann, like terrifying things that don't stop. You know, they don't stop at borders, but we draw these borders for ourselves. So this is Utah. I don't know if you guys know what Utah looks like, so this matters little. But Utah is really funny to me, not because I think Utahnians are great, Utahnians, but it's a funny looking state in terms of it has all these sharp lines around it. And you can just like look at that and go, a human has been here. Like these lines and everything, like nature doesn't work like that. Nature doesn't work in boxes and things. And regardless, I mean, it's necessary that we have these boundaries. It completely is. It makes sense that in order to govern properly, in order to dispense resources, all of those things, it's very vital that we have these boundaries. The problem becomes, though, when we start to see the boundaries rather than the things that they were initially meant to understand. Human nature looks more something like this. And for people who can't see, it looks something like this. Okay, so that's a bunch of dots on the board, but this is actually a much better example, especially if you can't see that. So humans spread out like this in little corners and pockets and things, but humans don't really understand that really well. Like if I gave you a data set that looked like a bunch of you guys on grass, you'd be like, and I'm going to fail this test because it doesn't make sense to us. So what humans do really well is that we draw lines in order to understand all these little beautiful dots that you are. And so I could say, all right, so this is a clump over here, and this looks like a clump. Hi. And that's a clump, and yeah, you're a clump. And we're all clumps, right? And then you guys in the middle, like over here, you know, like don't make sense because you don't fit into those clumps. And so I guess I'll use this still. So what humans do is we draw lines around things. We put things into clumps to better understand them. But the problem becomes that then we don't really understand the things in between. But then the bigger problem becomes when we start to understand the definitions so well that we start to expect everything to fit into those clumps. So if you guys are grouped together for some reason, then we start to expect all the people to fit in like that. And the paradox of it all is that we start to see the definitions more than we start to see the things, you guys, lying underneath those definitions. The problem becomes when, and the irony, the beautiful, beautiful irony, becomes when the definitions we start to understand more than the thing we were originally trying to define. And so you can apply this to really anything that you want to in life. But my thinking is that this is what's happening with national sovereignties. We categorize ourselves in nations, and it did make sense, and it still does for many reasons. I'm not saying do away with borders, whatever, like hop over to Mexico, although that'd be fun. But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that governments and all of these things were initially instituted to help us, to be for us, to be so that we could better rule, better dispense resources, better do whatever. And you come to things like the Copenhagen Conference back in '09, which pretty much was supposed to be for a global climate agreement. We were supposed to all come together and understand and say, oh, hey, I'm going to reduce these carbon emissions, and you're going to do that, and it'll be great. But instead, it's recognized as a failure of conferences and of global convenement. The point is that it ended with China being like, no, you go first, and the US being like, no, well, what about you? How about you make the first move? And then nothing happened. And the point is, it doesn't matter if you're Chinese, it doesn't matter if you're American, it doesn't matter if you're anything else, because all these problems are still going to happen, and they're going to happen on this side of the border, they're going to happen on that side of the border. And so when we stop recognizing that, then the borders have become more than us. So taking all of this information and figuring out how I put this into my vision, how do we create a human identity? How does it become so that my problems are your problems, and I know that, because they already are. My problems already are your problems. I mean, not all of them, thankfully for you guys, because I got some issues. But like, the thing is that when we talk about someone else's water pollution or someone else's air pollution, or like polar bears, and that their problems are our problems, and we need to understand that. It's not the fact of understanding that it's real, because it is real. It's making sure that that is present in all of our decisions, and understanding that when I look at somebody else, that you're human, I'm a human. So I was thinking, okay, so how does identity work? And a great example of this is Michigan football. Which is something we can all understand. And actually, I should preface this because my housemates are here. I'm at the farmer's market like every Saturday morning, so I have been to a football game, though. I don't want to be a complete hypocrite. But when I have attended a football game, I have noticed that never before is there such an idea of identity with Michigan. When you walk around, you see like the art kids, and they look pretty cool, and then there's like the other hipsters, and then there's, the engineering kids. There's people that look like this, look like that. There's some people that all walk together and have some similar characteristics. There's people speaking different languages. And you can start to make these little groups like this. But somehow, when you go into a football stadium, everyone's wearing the same color. Everyone's shouting the same things. We're all together. And suddenly, all those differences completely disappear. You're high-fiving people you don't know. You're drinking someone's beer, and it doesn't matter. And so how does that happen? That's so powerful. And it happens because we can see the enemy, whatever you want to call it, the other side, on the football field, in that weird colored corner, in the corner of the stadium, and you can see it, and that becomes really, really powerful, and it creates an identity for us. So bringing this all back to something actually relevant, how do we create humans? Well, we need aliens. This is actually a really terrifying picture of Alien versus Predator, but you can't see that, so you'll just have to stare at my face and imagine the same thing. And it doesn't matter what the alien is. It can be, friendly E.T., whatever, or lovely Michelle Bachmann. And it doesn't matter what the alien is, but that's something that is making you realize your human identity. That's something that's on the outside. So the cool thing about Project Alien, so more of a campaign, actually, to understand our global consciousness, this idea of us being humans together. The cool thing is that the groundwork is already there. You all are already human. Congratulations, well done. That's the meat of the work, or tofu of the work, because a lot of you are probably vegetarian. But the thing is that's really interesting is then, so why don't we already conceptualize ourselves as humans? Mainly because of this psychological switch in our brains that isn't allowing ourselves to do so. And the really awesome thing about that is that it's up to us and our brains to decide that. Fred Hoyle, who is a really well-known British astronomer, said this back in 1948. Once a photograph of the Earth taken from outside is available, once the sheer isolation of the Earth becomes known, a new idea as powerful as any in history will be let loose. 1948, when he said that. And exactly 20 years later, we were presented with this photo. If you can't see it, it's really famous. It's called Earthrise. So think about sunrise, but imagine that you're on the moon and you see the Earth rising. That was taken off of Apollo 8. And It has been acclaimed as the most powerful photograph, one of the most powerful photographs in human history, and also accredited with the start of the environmental revolution. A photo, a photo. And the thing is, it's really hard for us to imagine now, standing here. I mean, I have an application on my phone that allows me to pull up the Earth and spin it around, and I can look at it. I can be like, oh, look, hey, there's, Malaysia or whatever. And talk about homocentric, I can just be like, the Earth is going to spin this way today, guys. And the thing is, though, when people originally saw this photograph, it meant something very different. It was the first time that we saw in this way the Earth, home, this random blue thing in the middle of it all, in the middle of abyss, and we're on it. Like right now, guys, we are on the Earth. That is crazy. Like we are like up there, like who knows, right? And the only thing, not the only thing, there's some science people in here that could help me because I'm liberal arts, that we would implode. Like in any of that black space, we would just be gone. But we're here. And that Earth is giving us home. And that's unbelievable. And these things sound so simple, but they're the things that we've forgotten, these things that this photograph doesn't really mean the same thing anymore because we see photographs of the Earth every day, all the time. But it's so important to remember. And that's why we need to figure out what the next photograph is going to be. What's going to be the next thing to help us remember who we are, that we're humans. And as insignificant as the Earth gets, the further and further we go out and look at it, that's how insignificant all the differences between us get. They don't matter. The commander actually on Apollo 8, when they broadcasted this image, said in this really momentous broadcast, he ended it with, and good luck to everybody, all humans on Earth. This image makes you realize that we're all together in this. And if we could just do a little exercise, if you guys could just look at somebody close to you. Yeah, it's awkward, I know, especially if you don't know them. Especially if there's like 3 people in a group and then you're like, oh shit, I don't know who to look at. So just like try to look at someone and not let everyone feel left out because that's not the purpose. But just look at that person and be like, your brain exists in your body just as my brain exists in mine. This is somebody else who maybe you're different from them, maybe you're the same, whatever. It doesn't matter because all of the problems that we talked about, Michelle Bachmann is equally going to hurt you as she is going to hurt the person next to you. All right, I'm going to stop about the Michelle Bachmann stuff. But that is true for both of you, that the same things that will affect one of you will affect the other on this earth in this sense, in this general sense, that the same sun gives you both life and the same ground will one day take you. These are the things that connect us, and these are the things that we have to remember. And this is the realization that I hope to achieve through this campaign, through this project of mine, Project Alien. A lot of people have been asking me, okay, so what is it then? Like, what do we do? Like, how do I create an alien? And which is, first of all, a really hard question. And also makes me freak out because this is a really new thing for me. I came up with this idea maybe a month ago, and it's really awesome because people have already expressed a lot of interest. But I was thinking, like, oh, crap, like, what do I do? Like, how do I tell these people how to create a global community all of a sudden? Like, maybe I could dress as an alien and go buy organic carrots, and somebody else would be like, oh, an alien's not going to show me up. I'm going to buy organic carrots, too. But, like, these things, like, so I don't really know yet. Like, I don't really know yet what shape this campaign is going to take. But that's why I'm here in front of all you beautiful, beautiful people, is to start that conversation. That's what TED is, right? Sharing ideas. So here's mine. And I want to start the conversation to you guys. This is my email, Ajooni, Ajooni, it's weird, at umich.edu. And I want to hear from people that are interested, that want to take this on. Right now, the Project Alien meetings are a bunch of the finest people that I know in my living room, drinking tea and eating lots of oatmeal. So we'd love to have you, we'd love to hear your ideas, whatever it is. But I really want to go back to this picture really quick and just really conceptualize what this means. That we are really all in this together, that this is home, that this is what we make of it, right? That we are easily contributing to this, we can. And that's the power of the individual, because that's where it really is. It is in your minds. That's the psychology, that's everything. And so just as every other speaker has had the pleasure of introducing the next, I have the complete and utter honor of passing on the mic to you guys, and to seeing how your ideas and thoughts and everything beautiful is going to come back out into this world. So thank you so much.